close to our goal, and then we'd sabotage ourselves.
I would deprive myself. I would, do everything I could to lose the 25 or 30 pounds that I was trying to lose, only to achieve my goal, then reward myself, and put the weight back on.
Well, fortunately, at the time, we knew a couple that had this whole seminar and all this intellectual property they developed about changing beliefs.
So we talked to them and said, can you really change beliefs in someone and help them lose weight? And they said, yes, we can. And so we developed a retreat, a 3-day retreat, and did exercise, nutrition, but the most important thing we focused on was what we call the brain training.
And what was exciting, we did the 3 days, delivered everything, and over 2 months, that group averaged 25-pound weight loss.
David's dad lost the most because he had the most to lose, and after 6 months, he lost 150 pounds.
My dad, 5 years later, hadn't put that weight back on, and we knew that we had something.
This started out just to help David's dad. I mean, we just felt like we had to do something to help this man. He'd been such a great person in his life. And in the process, we looked at our own lives and said, yeah, we've got to help ourselves too.
And now the thing that's exciting for me is I can maintain my ideal shape. My whole goal, my whole life has been 34-inch waist, be able to see my belt, be able to see my shoes, and more importantly is to wear a size large shirt.
What changed was the way I started to see living healthy and eating healthy wasn't a punishment. It wasn't a deprivation. It wasn't, oh, you can't do. I found ways that I could do.
I have been able to develop habits, behaviors that are positive and that will be with me for the rest of my life. I will never put the weight back on.
I know that I will never put the weight on again. And the reason I know that is because of IdealShape's program. I mean, it covers all the components that it takes for us to change our brain, change our health, exercise. It's all the components. It started out as just a program for us as a family and how we could lose the weight and keep it off. And then we started helping our friends and neighbors, and that grew, and then all of a sudden we realized we needed to help a lot more people.
What separates us from all the other weight loss programs out there is that we have a proven tool that will help people change the way they think about themselves.
And with IdealShape, it's not a diet. It's a healthy way to live the rest of your life. Learning skills, abilities, techniques that help you so that you will never put the weight back on. That you'll have your ideal shape for the rest of your life.
It will help you finally take control and be able to have positive habits, positive behaviors. You're going to create this ideal shape. You're going to be able to have it for the rest of your life. That's what we'll do, and that's what's different about ideal shape.
I'll tell you about one of my favorite things about our job. Is I get to talk to some of the people that have actually lost the weight and kept it off, and how we've changed their lives. And it actually can bring tears to your eyes when you see what we've done. It gets pretty exciting.
First of all, pick an industry, a career that you have passion about. Okay, I had passion about the restaurant industry. I went right out of college, got in the restaurant industry, loved the restaurant industry, loved to cook, loved that whole thing. But what happened is through that industry, I hit a level where I no longer liked it because I was traveling so much. With Mrs. Fields Cookies, I was traveling 4 days a week away from my family and just did not, that was just not for me. And so I did meet David Neeleman on an airplane when I was coming back from California one day, and I had said a prayer that day, Lord, help get me off the road. I am sick of traveling. And by the end of our flight, David Neeleman said, you should come work for me. And I said, yeah, right. But, I have a great job. And he said, when you're ready to get off the road, you come talk to me. And so and the airline business was such a great transition from restaurants because it's very, very similar but very, very different. So it was a great opportunity, and for 4 years I've absolutely loved that. Treat your company as if you own the business. I say this because an interesting thing happened. While I was working for Morris Air, I was the VP of operations. I oversaw all touch points for the customer. So I oversaw the flight attendants and the customer service agents that took the reservations and the ones at the airport. And so we had a huge problem. We were generating so many phone calls that we had half-hour holds. And this was back in the day. You guys don't even know about this day, but there was a day when we used to pay 25 cents a minute for an 800 call to come into our call center. So do the math. You're selling $39 flights back then, and you're paying 25 cents a minute for people to sit on hold for a half hour to finally get to an agent. It was a huge problem, and we just had no more seats in our call center. I went to a call center conference, and there was a breakout session called Bringing the Work to the Worker, and it was in 1993, so home agents had not even been heard of. But I thought, that is a cool idea, having agents work from home. So I went to this breakout session. I came back. I told David Neeleman, we have to have agents working from home. This is what's going to solve our problem. We'll hire these people. They'll work from home. And David's like, no way we're going to have home agents. We won't know what they're doing. I said, we know everything we're doing. I have stats on every call they take, wrap-up times, sales they make. I know everything they're doing. Well, they could be sitting there ironing. I said, I don't care. If they're selling segments, I don't care what they're doing. And he finally agreed to test it. We took 20 of our best agents that wanted to work from home, and our productivity went up 15%. We knew we had a hit. Well, within a year, we had 180 agents working from home, and we solved our problem with the calls on hold, and we had flex time, and we had, oh man, I keep just bumping this. Sorry. Oh my gosh. I thought I was going backwards. Me and technology. Right there. Okay, perfect. All right. So I won't move that because I'm on this slide for a while. We'll just put that down. So these home agents, we had this hit. It was all exciting. And then Southwest comes in to buy the company, and they decide not to use home agents. And it was just the saddest thing. I thought, we worked so hard for a year. This is the coolest thing. This is next century stuff. Come on, you've got to do it. And they decided not to. So like I told you before, I was prompted by the Spirit to pursue the idea, to tell you how I know this was what I was supposed to do. I was able to get a loan for $150,000 on my signature in my house, and I could do all that, but I needed to buy more equipment because Southwest decided not to sell it to me at the last minute for 10 cents on the dollar, so I had to buy it all brand new. And so somebody said, well, why don't you go talk to a VC group? And I said, what's that? And they told me what it was, and I was like, okay, I'll talk to them. So I met with Todd Stevens with Wasatch Venture Fund, and 30 days later, I had raised $350,000. I had the check 30 days later. Now, I thought that's just how things were. It wasn't until later, till people explained to me how unusual it is to get a VC group to invest in you and within 30 days. I mean, that's just unheard of. But I know that I was being helped because I couldn't have done that on my own, and I couldn't start the company without that money. I needed that to get it up and running and going. So why I say treat the company as if you own the business, I treated that problem at Morris Air as if I owned it, and it became a business that I owned. Amazing that something I did a couple years later to solve a problem became the business that I owned and ran and developed for 13 years. So you never know when you're helping someone what truly is going to happen for you. Don't be afraid to surround yourself with people that are better than you. A lot of time in business, I see this over and over where somebody comes in and they're like a superstar, and the person interviewing them is intimidated by their skill level, by their experience, and they make up all these reasons why they can't hire somebody. And bottom line, typically it's because the person has a skill, talent, ability that is way better than you are. And so all of a sudden that person is uncomfortable. And I say, no way. I elevated myself in business by surrounding myself with people that were better than me. And they just made me look good, and as I inspired them and led them and gave them direction, We all grew together. And so as you are in business or whatever you decide to do, don't be afraid to do that. It pays off. Sometimes they're the hardest employees you'll ever have to manage because they will push you like nobody else has ever pushed you. But by far, they are the most productive and the best for you and your company. Don't accept it can't be done or you can't do that. I've been told hundreds of times it can't be done. That won't work. Oh. My employees know if there's one sentence that will absolutely send me, it's it can't be done or it won't work. So they don't say it anymore. If you work for me, you don't say this. You say, well, we've never done that before, or we don't know how to do that, or we've got to go figure out how to do that, or that's a good question, but you don't tell me it's never been done before, or, I mean, it can't be done. We had a situation, there's not many in this room that will relate to this anymore. These stories, I've got to come up with newer ones. Back in 1999, there was this scare called Y2K, and we were told that our computer systems and our phone switch would not work in the year 2000. So we developed a new order entry system, and we needed T1s. This is back before internet. You guys, we needed these T1s to come in because we had to bring our agents in over these lines, log them in, and then they would run on the system that we were creating. So we were all excited that we had this, except for the AT&T didn't deliver the T1s on time. And so we didn't get them till December 15th. So December 15th, we're testing our new system. So the phone system works because we have our vendor who upgraded that, but we've developed our own ordering system. So the agents can take the orders. So we put 25 agents on, and boom, they come in, they take orders, all is good. Well, our business explodes on January 3rd. Because we were in the call center business, a lot of people call in for fitness, financial help. There's a lot of different programs we were selling that would start really performing January 3rd. January 3rd hits, all 100 of my agents at the time log in. We had 185, I think, but all 100 log in, and it goes to a complete standstill. Takes 10 minutes to save an order. We are like, I've got agents on the phone, well, hang on a minute, and we're like, oh my gosh. So we start grabbing pieces of paper and taking orders on paper, and then having people come in the middle of the night and you know, put them in, and it's just a disaster. And so my IT guy says, you know, well, we need a bigger server. So we go buy a bigger server, and that doesn't work. And we need to do this. For 13 days, we threw everything he could think at it. And I said, why don't we go back to 1999? That won't work. Why not? The computer system doesn't know it's 2000. Our old system works in 1999. We used it all last year. Let's go back on our old system and put in 1999. He goes, it won't work. I go, why not? I mean, really, why not? Why won't it work? Today's January 13th. I want you to go take the system, put January 13th, 1999, and I want all my agents on it, working on it right now. So he did. We uploaded the orders, and then in the middle of the night, we went and did a copy-paste and changed the date. And we were in business again. We were almost out of business. But we were in business again. We actually didn't celebrate year 2000 until November 16th. That's when we got a whole new order system up and running. It took us that long. We had to, you know, toss that one and start over, and finally celebrated year 2000 on November 16th. But I tell you the story because you will hear in your career, in life general, it can't be done, it won't work, and I'm telling you, of the hundreds of times I've heard that, maybe only a couple of times we weren't able to figure out a way to make it work and had to go and still find a different way. Don't be afraid to fail. Admit a mistake and move on. We have, over the years, I've been an entrepreneur. I won't go back to my previous experience in business because I had a bunch then. But we've had a lot of mistakes and failures, a lot of things that went wrong over the years. I had an IT guy, and he messed up big time. And this was back when we were early on. And he messed up on so many orders that they weren't charged properly, and the customer lost all these sales, that it cost us $36,000. And we didn't have $36,000 to make it right for this customer. And he came to me and he just said, I'm sorry, I messed up, I'll just resign and make this easy. And I said, are you kidding me? I just paid $36,000 for your education. Are you ever going to do that again? He goes, no. I go, will you do this, this, and this? Absolutely. I go, why would I hire somebody new that could make that mistake? I said, you've now learned a big lesson. So admit it and move on. Let it go. We don't bring it up again. Failure is part of owning a company, running a business, being an entrepreneur. It's just part of the deal. And learn from it, but don't get all consumed by it, because it's just part of being in business. Treat your employees well so they will treat your customers even better. You hear this all the time, but I bet you can name off 10 horrible customer service experiences you've had in the last month. I certainly can. I'm so frustrated with the level of customer service, or lack of level of customer service in most businesses. So people don't take heed to this. I really do. One of the best compliments we get on Facebook is when somebody will say, I love your customer service. I love how interactive you are, either on Facebook or when I call in, how you answer my questions, how you're there for me, because that's what we do. And it's really because of the way we treat our employees. We make them a big part of the success team. We put them in a commission pool, and we make them, as we're successful, they become more successful. I'll go to this next one. Know your numbers and watch your cash. I have had numerous entrepreneur friends completely lose their business because they didn't do this. They got to a point where they stopped watching their numbers. They got to a point where they didn't watch their cash. They got to a point where they really trusted their brother-in-law, their sister, their best friend, their CFO, whomever. And you know what? I trust people, but I always know my numbers and I always watch my cash. Find a mentor. I've had hundreds of mentors over the years, and the best ones are still my mentors to this day. It's interesting. I'll tell you a quick little story. I went to a mentoring group called YNET back in the early 90s when I was starting my business, and you had to be in business under 2 years to get a mentor, and you had to be in business over 4 years or 5 years to be a mentor. So I wanted to be matched up with a mentor, so I went to this program, and they matched me up with a woman named Marilyn Tang. And Marilyn Tang had a warehousing business where she would come in and design your warehouse so it would work efficiently. And I remember the day seeing her bio and looking at her, and she'd been in business like 20 years. And she was this old lady. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's not going to be able to help me. I want somebody in the call center business. I want somebody that really can help me. I've got real problems here. I need help. And so we sat there, and they had this introduction lunch, and we all got together, and then Marilyn said, okay, I'll meet with you in a couple of weeks. What's a good day? We pick a date. We go to lunch. And she says, I want you to bring your biggest problems that you're dealing with and what you're up against to this lunch. I thought, okay, great, that's easy. Like, you're going to be any help to me. So I get to this lunch. I start rattling it off. She goes, oh, that's easy. You want to do this, this, and this. Oh, that's a piece of cake. Give me real problems. And she was just so seasoned and so past all the beginning entrepreneur stuff that she really did help me. She really inspired me. She really helped me believe that these weren't big problems. To me, they were all consuming and just heavy, and they were hard. And she was like, oh gosh, that's easy. Give me a real problem. You don't even have real problems yet. Let me tell you what real problems are. And she helped me start feeling, and I think that's what we're here for. Once we've gone down a path, we're here to help someone else go down that path just a little bit easier and better. So years later, I became a mentor. And so one of the things I do is I mentor a few students every year as part of my give back. So what you want to do is find people, and they don't have to be in the business you're creating or in or anything. Someone you respect, someone you think that has a lot going for them. You'd be surprised what you can learn from them. Find ways to share in the success of your business. I think I touched on this. We have a commission pool. As the company grows, we have this commission pool, and then everybody shares at the level that they participate in the company. I've always done that. I'm a firm believer in it. You will see successes as you are willing to do this. Market yourself and your business, or find someone that can. You need to understand social media marketing to compete in this marketplace. That seems like so obvious, right? Like, who doesn't know that you need to be in social media? Well, when I started Occurrence, so I got back into Occurrence about 2.5 years ago, we didn't have social media in my first business. When I got into IdealShape, because we started in 2003, we shelved it, we gave it to our son, he created a personal training company, and then he asked us to come back and build the internet business. So I got back into it 2.5 years ago, and all of a sudden there's this social media platform, and I'm like, I'm not getting on Facebook, that's for kids. You know, this is a business. And then I would hear over and over and over again. So last year I started taking a Facebook class, because in my first business, we did the traditional radio, TV, newspaper marketing. I can tell you, we've tested those in IdealShape, and none of them have worked. What works is Google AdWords and social media. So we had 1,000 fans last August when I started my Facebook class. We're now almost at 1,200,000 fans, and our goal is to be at 20,000 fans by the end of the year. Our business has gone from about 500,000 last year to 5 million this year. So we can attribute some of it to Google AdWords, I would say about 50%. The other 50% is word of mouth and social media. And so someone was very wise. They told me, you're going to have to work it. You're going to have to work it and work it and work it, and you're going to see nothing for a long time, and then you're going to get a pop. And it's going to happen, and it did. And now it's building on itself. We're adding about 1,000 fans every couple of weeks now. And so it works. And knowing how to do it and engaging with your clients in a relative, exciting, fun way. We couldn't get people to post their pictures. We really wanted them, after they say, thanks IdealShape, you helped me lose 54 pounds, you know, like, post a picture. They wouldn't do it. So we came up with this contest called the ShipShape Challenge, and you enter it, and if you're the monthly winner, you get free product and some cash, but then you get put into this contest where everybody's coming in today to win a cruise. So that's how we started getting pictures. Then one day, I'm sitting there going, I got to figure out how to get people to, you know, post pictures or something. We came up with this idea of doing recipes. So you post a recipe. If you post a recipe and a picture, this 10-day frame, the person that gets the most likes wins free product. So we started doing that, and that got us a lot of engaged users. And we got some pictures. And so we've just been playing around with it. We're now on Pinterest. We're now starting to do Instagram and Google+, and oh my gosh, it's crazy, but you have to do it. And if you're not good at it and you're starting a business, find somebody who is. It's important to either partner up with them or hire them, because it makes a difference. Make sure you have great technology and spend the time to research it continually. I came from old school. So when I was in the restaurant business, all I had to do was hire great employees. That's all I had to do. I had to hire great employees, and then I managed them, and I had great restaurants, and it was all good. And then we hit the 1990s, and what I found out is great employees don't stick around if they don't have great technology to support them, and especially in an internet business like we are. And customers don't come back if it's not fast and easy and all of that. So I've changed it. You have to start with great employees, but you have to support them with great technology, either for their job or for your customers' ease. Have integrity in all your business dealings. I know you hear this a lot, but I see a lot of businesses that don't. Early on in Occurrence's history, we had, this was back when infomercials were the way to advertise. People would watch an infomercial in the middle of the night, and they'd call in, and then our agents would jump on in the middle of the night because they were at home, so they'd just jump on for a half hour, and they would take calls. Well, just before this one infomercial was going to air, our phone switch went down, and we couldn't get it back up for a couple of hours. So a couple hours later, it's 3 in the morning, we get it back up, and we get what's called drag calls. So 70% of the calls come within that hour that it's on, half hour it's on, and then 30% come throughout the day after that. They're the drag calls. So the next day, the customer calls me because they're kind of bummed that they were expecting about 3,000 phone calls, they only got 500. So they said, oh, we're just bummed that that airing didn't work. Now, I had a choice. They had no idea my phone switch went down. They had no way of knowing that or finding it out. This was back before you could find this stuff out. Now you can find this stuff out, but back then you couldn't. And it was a split second. I had a split second to make the right decision. I said, well, there's something I need to tell you. It actually probably did better than you think. Our phone switch was down during your run, so you only got the 500 drag calls. I said, what I've decided to do is give you the money to re-air that spot, and let's try it again and see if it works. So I paid money I didn't have to re-air that spot the next week, and then it got the 3,000 calls. So I got those 3,000 calls, and I billed for them, but in the end, I took a big hit. But that client always trusted me, and never, ever, if I said, it didn't air, it didn't run, it didn't produce for you, they never questioned me after that, because they knew we had integrity. Most important, have fun. If it's not fun, I'm telling you, you will not be able to get through the really, really difficult, tough days, because there's a lot of them, especially if you decide to be an entrepreneur and build your own company. There's a lot of days that you sit there and think, why am I doing this? Because this is not fun. And then you realize that you have a lot of passion about what you do, and that's what drives you, and then it becomes fun again. People would ask me, so you're passionate about telemarketing? No. I was passionate about employing people from home. I had that vision, I had that mission, I had that purpose. And when I get kind of like, why am I doing this? Someone will walk in my office and say, thank you for having this company. You saved my life. You gave my kids have food now because I'm a single mom and I couldn't make it, but I can work from home in the middle of the night while my kids sleep, and I can provide for them. And then I would say, okay, it's worth it. So that's what I became passionate about. I am passionate about the health industry. I love fitness, and I love seeing what our clients do. I'm excited today to get to see these people in person. We've met them online. We've talked to them over the phone. We have their before and after pictures. We have their story of how we've changed their life. But truly, it is exciting to get to meet them, to hear how we've made a difference in their life. And so, yes, that I'm very passionate about. If you enjoyed this presentation, I always say go like us on Facebook, go follow us on Pinterest, or go to IdealShape.com and sign up for our email. We are very regular. We send out 2 emails a week that are what we consider our clients are interested in. And they actually, because there was a lot of people that said, I don't know if blog posts work, and I don't know if email newsletters work, and I can tell you they work. If you interact with your community on a level that they're interested in, we can always tell the day we send out a newsletter, our sales go up. And we're not marketing. That newsletter isn't marketing product or selling a product. It's a blog post, and then on a side it talks about free shipping and some things that we have, but the content that we deliver is content that we feel is interesting to them and relevant to them, and then we see our sales go up. So, questions?